Hey guys, check it out. You're watching Jonathan Clark on YouTube. Oh no. It's never been a secret to anyone that I am the biggest Miley Cyrus fan in the world. I have been the biggest Miley Cyrus fan for forever, ever since the days of Hannah Montana, which go all the way back to 2006. In April of that year, I became the biggest Hannah Montana supporter in the world, and millions of fans joined me on what would become an incredible journey for all of us as we experienced Miley's story through the power of music, which is one of the biggest reasons why Hannah Montana and all the Disney Channel series of that generation were able to propel into superstardom. That's why we saw the creation of superstars like Miley Cyrus, Selena Gomez, Demi Lovato, Bridget Mendler, because they were able to tell stories through the power of music. Sometimes when the emotions were too high, Miley would come out, stand in front of a microphone, and through the power of music, be able to express her emotions and tell us all how she felt. In the very first episode of Hannah Montana, it was the secret that Miley Stewart, the character on the show, was a pop star by the name of Hannah Montana because she wanted to pursue a double life. She wanted to be a student in school in the daytime and be a pop star by night, and with the power of her father being her manager, she was able to do it, portrayed by Miley Cyrus, and their friendship has been documented so many times over the years in interviews that were done for the media, which I really appreciated. I found time in appreciating this series, and it was the first series that I really enjoyed of this new generation that Disney had came into. It really came into its own because of this series, and then following suit was Wizards of Waverly Place, but I don't think ever a series got off the ground as powerfully as what Hannah Montana did. I also was a huge fan of Emily Osment on this show. I can't go any further without giving Emily Osment the credit that she deserves as the character Lily Truscott on that show. She put up with so much nonsense, and of course it was documented that the stars of the show really didn't get along, didn't see eye to eye. They had their own opinions of one another, and the producers said they had to pull it together from the very first season, from the very first episode, the pilot. They were able to get it done, and, even though they had a lot of animosity towards each other, I know in Miley Cyrus's book that I read a number of years ago, it was called Miles to Go, co-written by Hilary Lofton and Disney Press, she said that she had a lot of regret for not really being able to see eye to eye with Emily Osment, but she put a little bit of a tribute for Emily Osment into her book, which I remember reading, and I found that really kind-hearted of Miley Cyrus to go as far as to say that. Now, I've never heard Emily Osment say as many kind things about Miley Cyrus as what Miley has said about her on all of her co-stars, but I really wish that Emily Osment would make time to say more kind things about Miley Cyrus. Sure, she's there for Hannah Montana reunions and meet and greets and stuff, but and always there to answer questions for fans about Hannah Montana. What was it like being a co-star to Miley Cyrus on that series? But I remember years ago she had a lot of animosity towards Miley because the series seemed to revolve around Miley's character. Of course it would, because the self-title was Hannah Montana, and you would expect the TV series to revolve around her a lot. But I think there could have been more emphasis. I kind of agree with Emily Osment because I think there could have been more emphasis on characters such as herself and Mitchell Musso's character. Of course, Smokin' Oaken, we remember him being called to. That was his nickname. A lot of fans were referring to him as. And I really agree with her, and I agree with a lot of the other stars of this TV series because there is no I in team. There is no I in team in anything that you pursue in life. No matter if you're a member of a volleyball team, a cheerleading squad, a hockey team, a basketball team, whatever. There is no I in team. And the same thing can be said about the cast of a TV series. I remember how Miley went in and auditioned for the friend, Lily Truscott, on that TV series, and the producer said she really had what it took. And then they suggested that her father be her on-screen father because of the chemistry they had, not only just on the camera, but off the camera as well. The producers thought they fit together so appropriately, and they go home after auditioning, and Miley gets the call, and she's so ecstatic. And this is a girl who was bullied a lot throughout her time in high school, and she was able to prove a lot of her a lot of her friends wrong because, after being bullied for so many years, she comes out of being bullied and into this huge pop star who, goes from being someone who was bullied all the time to starring in rock shows every single night of her life. And I remember when she used to do a lot of media appearances, she found it so cool how supportive fans were of her because they would not only go to school in the morning, but the night before they would probably attend a Hannah Montana concert at 7 p.m., go home at 10 p.m., and then go to school the next day. So she found it really cool that fans would come out by the thousands to celebrate her and honor her career, which was amazing. And I just remember Miley being so appreciative at 11 years old, doing these interviews. Some of her first interviews, she was so shy. But even though she was so shy, she was so appreciative of, everything, every opportunity that she was ever given. And she was also very appreciative of her family, who never seemed to, end the support for her. I know her mom was very supportive of her too. And I know one thing that really irritated her was a lot of people, focused, her success on the popularity of her father back in the 1990s. I remember being a huge fan of Billy Ray Cyrus. I had one of the old cassette tapes with Achy Breaky Heart, and of course that song was at the top of the Billboard charts from 1992 to 1993, and that was his biggest song. A lot of people will refer to Billy Ray Cyrus as a one-hit wonder, but in 1992, 1993, he was one of the most iconic country artists of the world, and I remember being such a huge fan of him, going on camping expeditions with my family, and my dad would be chopping firewood with an axe, going Kung Fu Panda on a tree, and I would be sitting behind a campfire listening to Billy Ray Cyrus' song. It was the only song that I listened to when I was a kid. That's one of the reasons why I fell in love with Billy Ray Cyrus and immediately his entire family. One of the first times I had the opportunity to watch Miley Cyrus was, I believe, the Disney Christmas Parade in 2007. And that was about a year after my mom had passed away. And I remember her singing some Christmas songs at the Disney Christmas Parade in 2007. And I think after I saw one of the first performances I ever had the opportunity to see Miley Cyrus perform off the camera of Hannah Montana, I went home, I looked up everything about her favorite color, her favorite song, what she liked, what she didn't like, and I said, this girl has what it takes. And 100 episodes later into Hannah Montana, an emotional series finale, here's Miley Cyrus, one of the biggest stars in the world. I remember just a couple of years ago, one of her songs, Flowers, went to the top of the Billboard charts and got like millions and millions of downloads. Maybe not as high as a Taylor Swift, who is worth $1.6 billion, but Miley's net worth is worth millions and millions on top of millions. And you go back to all the success she had as a child star, Hannah Montana, and then of course the Nicholas Sparks book, of course The Last Song being turned into a live action adaptation, and then LOL, which is coming up to its anniversary the first week of May of 2012. That one was released. She co-starred alongside Demi Moore, and after that movie, Success, and the Hannah Montana movie, she made the decision to solely focus on music, which I remember hearing in an interview. I was driving home from somewhere one night, and here's Miley Cyrus on the radio talking about how she had such an aspiration for music and she wanted to solely focus on that, and I had a lot of tremendous respect for Miley for being able to do that. And I think everybody who ever supported Miley Cyrus, from her co-stars on Hannah Montana to her family, were very supportive of that. She had a brother in the band Metro Station who had songs like Shake It years ago, and she drew so much inspiration from him and all of his success, and I guess she wanted to focus on, being just as successful as her dad and her brother, and she has gone on to achieve beyond the expectations of anybody, because I remember there were a lot of critics of people like Miley Cyrus years ago who didn't really find time in appreciating everything that she did. But she was able to shadow them out because she knew she was a success. She was able to shadow out all the bullying. She was able to shadow out all the people who gave her a lot of criticism. And now she is a Disney legend. Just a couple of months ago, I'll be showing a video of Miley's acceptance of the Disney Legend Award. She's the youngest Disney legend in history. On D23.com, they were profiling it a couple of months ago. There was a huge performance from Miley Cyrus done by a country artist who performed her version and adaptation of Best of Both Worlds. But Miley not only saw success as an actress, she also saw success as a singer too, because the records for Hannah Montana were selling millions of copies. Hannah Montana Volumes 1 through 5 were amazing. The soundtrack for the movie was amazing. And by the way, happy birthday Jason Earls. I think he's 48 years old just a couple of days ago. I know Disney's history website, thisdayindisneyhistory.com, were profiling it, and I had meant to talk about it for a long time on my YouTube channel, but with everything happening with Descendants and Zombies and Lilo and Stitch on the way out and so much in the way of Thunderbolts from Marvel Studios, There's been a lot to talk about. The success of Wizards Beyond Waverly Place. And you talk about the success of Wizards Beyond Waverly Place. This was a TV series years ago, Wizards was, that was at the top of the list for a reboot to potentially be distributed. And Disney Plus is distributing this reboot now, focusing on Justin Russo's daughter, Billy, who's doing a great job as the daughter of Justin Russo. You know, you kind of envisioned these characters years ago. You would have thought that Alex Russo, Selena Gomez's character, would have had her own daughter or her own son. Who's to say we won't see something like that happen by the time we see the series finale of this one? But I remember this was at the top of the conversation for a Disney Channel reboot years ago. It was always Wizards preferred over Hannah Montana, but there's always the question being posed to people like Miley and Emily about, you know, will we ever see the potentiality of a Hannah Montana reboot? Would Miley ever don the wig again? And I think if, you know, the financial offering was high enough, I think that if the opportunity was right and the time was right in the lives of the stars like Miley Cyrus and Emily Osment, I think we would see this. I've also really appreciated how characters on that show like Rico and Jackson would kind of come in and do something stupid. We're going to see them in a few minutes in a clip I'm going to be showing here. Jackson's character, portrayed by Jason Earls, he was significantly older than what Miley Cyrus was, obviously, but he would come in, he would portray this young character who had a chip on his shoulder. He thought he was so cool, he would do something stupid, and he would make his exit. I remember years ago when I was working on a website called blogtalkradio.com on my own respective show, and there were these other shows that were streaming, and they had Jason Earls one night as a guest, and he too was so appreciative of being a character that would just kind of come in, put Miley and Emily over, achieve his purpose by do something stupid and make his exit. And I also really appreciated the chemistry between Billy Ray Cyrus and Jason Earls on that show too, because he had a stupid son. He was trying to, you know, better his son by giving him advice. Sometimes he'd take his advice, he'd try to impress his dad, other times he wouldn't and go his own way about doing it, and eventually he became a video game tester by the series finale. And Miley, of course, would go on to college with her best friend, of course, in the show, Lily Truscott, portrayed by Emily Osment. There was an emotional hug at the end of the series. Miley goes to Paris or something, decides to drop her career as a pop star and as a singer, and then goes to college with her best friend, and of course he becomes a video game developer. And I was thinking to myself, you know, damn, I wanted to be a video game developer all of my life. You know, I've always played the Crash Bandicoots, the Sonic the Hedgehogs, the Super Marios, the Minecraft games. I played Disney Dreamlight Valley, Disney Speedstorm. I always wanted to be a video game tester. You know, I'm down with Crash Bandicoots, the Spyro the Dragons, the Final Fantasies, the Resident Evil video games. And he one-upped me. He got one over on me. He became a video game tester ever before I did. But I think what really got me about this TV series was how Miley could connect with her audience in a way that nobody could ever connect with their audience. I mean, Selena Gomez also was a very successful singer in her own right. She was probably a more successful singer than what Miley ever was, but Miley will go down as one of the greatest of all time. She was inducted into the Disney Hall of Fame ever before that of a Selena Gomez, a Demi Lovato, and a Bridget Mendler. But, you know, I don't think Selena Gomez ever did take the opportunity to connect with her fans as much as what Miley did. At the meet and greets from 7 to 10 p.m. when they would have Hannah Montana concerts years ago, she was always there. She was never one of those stars to go in and do her performance and get on the bus and go to the next town like a Hilary Duff. I remember years ago, Hilary Duff was supposed to perform here, and she pulled out of her concert because they couldn't get her band equipment across the river. The river had been frozen over the night before the concert, and of course they had to transport the band equipment, whatever it was, and because they couldn't transport the band equipment over the river, she backed out of the concert, and thousands of fans who had traveled hours across this island where I live, which if there ever is a zombie apocalypse on, by the way, there's two ways off of it: by plane where you can crash, boat where you can drown. If you can't swim, you're really screwed. So hopefully what Disney is promoting with the Zombies movie never comes into fruition. But I remember people traveling by boat, people traveling by plane all over this province, and then she pulls out. And then years ago, because of Selena Gomez's battle with lupus, she uses any excuse in the book to back out of her performance where tickets had already been sold. People had to be refunded for that one years later. So people like Hilary Duff and Selena Gomez have this reputation of backing out of concerts. But have you ever heard in history of a time where Miley Cyrus would back out of a concert? No, and I don't think you ever will, because of the dedication she's had, this aspiring, you know, feeling where she doesn't want to let her family down. I know there's been a lot of speculation about her feelings towards her father and some of his latest actions, but despite that, she is giving her family such a huge representation. And I just want to say this for the record. I really believe that Miley Cyrus has had a lot more success than her father ever has. I mean, back in the 90s, yes, he may have been one of the biggest stars in country music. But I think that in this generation, she has seen far more success than her father ever has, and he knows it in the back of his mind. And I think he's really appreciative of that, despite how much criticism both himself and his daughter has received for the relationship both on and off of camera. I remember years ago about how close they seemed to be on the TV series, and they were receiving a lot of criticism for that. You know, Billy Ray Cyrus is described as somebody who was piggybacking off the success of his daughter. But despite that, I think that Miley has always had her heart in the right place when it comes to her fans and to her music. She's always been there to entertain. When you see people like Hilary Duff and Selena Gomez always focusing on other stuff. I mean, years ago, Selena Gomez was claiming she was sick. No doubt she was. And then now we're seeing her as a producer of shows like Murders in the Building and Wizards Beyond Waverly Place. She's really taking herself up in this opportunity to be a producer. And who's to say that Miley won't become one of the most successful producers in music? Obviously, she has a hand in her own production now because of all the success she's seen. But I remember years ago, people believed that she had learned so much so quick, and that's why she exploded. And when she got away from Disney, she started exemplifying these weird behaviors, but you had to find time and appreciating that, because she was really to the point in her interview. She didn't shy away from answering any questions about negativity, about positivity, and especially the negative questions. She was always really upfront with the people she was standing in front of the microphone, answering the questions for. They were firing her questions. She was firing just as positive responses, no matter if they were negative, no matter if they were positive, no matter if they were use of foul language. She was able to do it in a way that I don't think anyone would have ever been able to do it. You know, most people would have just walked off the set when being posed questions the same way Miley was. But she was just so professional doing it. I remember years ago how much of a huge response the Hannah Montana movie received. All the merchandise was flying off the shelves, the guitars, the coats. The coats were absolutely beautiful. You couldn't get your hands on the coat at Walmart or wherever the coats were being sold. I remember them flying off the shelf. All the Hannah Montana DVDs, all the seasons of Hannah Montana were flying off the shelf. And here comes the movie in April of 2009. I remember going to the movie with one of my friends. He was a guy. We walked into the movie. We were the only guys in the crowd, and my friend looks at me and says, "You really want to go in there?" I said, "You know, you'd be crazy if you didn't want to go into a theater full of girls." I had the time of my life. I don't know if he had the time of his life seeing the Hannah Montana movie, but I remember it being a time that I will never ever forget, because I was such a huge Hannah Montana fan. And just having the opportunity to watch Miley's rise in superstardom and popularity was a tremendous honor for me. It honestly was a tremendous honor for me, and I can only hope that somebody finding this thumbnail today, clicking on my thumbnail, finds it a tremendous opportunity to watch the rise in popularity of Hannah Montana for the better part of the last 2 decades, which has been amazing. It's hard to believe it's been 19 years since the series premiere of Hannah Montana, and over 15 plus since the series finale in 2011. In January of 2011, this one said goodbye. And I remember being in tears because I was the biggest Miley Cyrus. I had the collector's edition of the book, autobiography of Miley Cyrus, that was written by both herself and Hilary Lofton, which offered a tremendous amount of insight, which, by the way, is a tremendous read for anyone who has never read this book. It's very easy to read. It's over 250 pages of info about Miley Cyrus. It's very educational, and I think both Miley and Hilary did a tremendous job, both as the writers and co-writers of this one. And Disney did a phenomenal job producing what they knew at that time was going to go down as one of the greatest Disney Channel series of all time. It holds the record for the most episodes and the most watch time on Disney Plus, and it's going to be a long time before anything exceeds it. I think the closest thing to exceed it has been Descendants or Zombies, and I think Descendants with 6.2 in the ratings or 6.4 in the ratings rather, to Zombies 6.2 in the ratings holds a close second to that one, but I think it's going to surpass it in all honesty. But what do you say we take a look at a special interview featuring the majority of the cast? Jason Earls is in there too. By the way, as I said here earlier, happy birthday to Jason Earls. I know it's been a while. It's a belated birthday wish, but there's so much to talk about on this YouTube channel, from Phineas and Ferb to Snow White to Lilo and Stitch to Thunderbolts to everything happening with Disney Fortnite X. There's a lot of stuff happening. We'll get to it all. But what do you say we watch a Hannah Montana special interview? I think it runs for about 5 minutes. It features the cast members Miley Cyrus, Emily Osment, of course Jason Earls. He's in there too as we celebrate his birthday. Give me a second to switch over and we'll watch this footage together. This is a really cool, really fun interview for people who were fans of Hannah Montana, the series, and if you tell me you were never a fan of Hannah Montana, I think you're lying. I don't believe you, because I think even people who said they were never a fan of Hannah Montana sat down either to just watch the series or to find time in criticizing it. Even if you were a critic of this TV series, some of the biggest fans of stuff like Hannah Montana were the critics, and Hannah Montana saw its fair share of criticism, but I was the biggest Hannah Montana fan in the universe. I'll do you one better. I was the biggest Hannah Montana fan in the galaxy. For the millions of fans who watched this one, every time there was a series premiere for Hannah Montana, people watched it. They made time to watch it. Even if you were a critic, you made time to criticize it. And even if you were a critic, like I said, you were the biggest fan of Hannah Montana. You can share your favorite Hannah Montana memories in the comments of this video as we watch this footage together. It features interviews and comments from people like Miley Cyrus, Emily Osment, and of course Jason Earls, who's celebrating his birthday today. Let's watch this footage together. Leave it for in the comments. Throw me up a few likes. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button.
Question so much, and I can never think of one specific. The more you meet, the more they blend, and the high-pitched screams kind of all, you kind of learn to tone them out. But I think the craziest thing is that when I've done Good Morning America a few times, and people literally like sleep there from 10 o'clock at night for your show at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning. So I think it's pretty cool when you have kids that are late to school because they go to see your show at Good Morning America in the morning.
Well, the craziest encounter was probably I was doing an autograph signing. I think it was in Ohio, and somebody gave me a goldfish in a bag. I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't think I could take it in the airport, so I gave it to the lady that was with me, and I think she let it out in the lake. Hopefully that was the right thing to do.
I've been pretty good with the fan encounters. I think the craziest one to me was I did a charity event where I was going to hang out with a group of kids for the afternoon, going bowling and miniature golf and that sort of stuff, and we picked them up in a limousine at their school, and I was sitting in the car, and this girl gets in the car and slides in, and she's like, "Hey, my name is..." And she totally passed out because she was like really excited to meet me. I started to freak out. I was like, and then she woke up and she was really embarrassed, and then I was really embarrassed because I was going, and then it all worked out.
And this mother came up to me, and I was doing basically at a table like this, and I think I was in Florida or something. She basically, I didn't really say it to my mom, I was like saying goodbye to this other kid, and this baby just walks out of me. She's like, "Sign my baby." I was like, "Excuse me?" She's like, "Sign my baby," and the baby's like sleeping. I'm like, "I'm really not comfortable with this." I'm like, "I'm not really." She was a Sharpie. I'm like, "This is not good." So I signed the baby's clothes and acne on the baby's skin, which is what she wanted.
Wow, I could never imagine myself being in a position where someone would actually come up to me and faint for being a fan of my YouTube channel. I don't know what I would do. I would probably freak out myself. But that was a whole lot of fun watching that footage with you guys. That footage, I think, is over at least 15 years old because, of course, Hannah Montana saw its series finale, Hannah Montana Forever, in January of 2011. There were a lot of guest stars on the Hannah Montana Forever spin-off of the original series. I love how Disney used to change up the title of the series when they were reaching its finale and its climax. But if anyone ever says they were never a fan of Hannah Montana, you're lying. I don't believe you. And I just want to go on record for saying that because everybody was a Hannah Montana at one particular point in their life. You're a liar if you're saying you're not a fan of Hannah Montana. You're a critic. But even if you're a critic, you're the biggest fan. Yeah, I don't know if I'd really be able to handle a fan passing out because they watch my YouTube show. Or fans, sleeping overnight just to get tickets to a live performance of my YouTube show. Can you imagine that? Jonathan Clark performing live and people camping out overnight just to get tickets. I would be really freaked out by that. I think I would be even more freaked out if people were passing out when they meet me at meet and greets. I don't know how people like Miley Cyrus and Emily Osment were able to do that. But guys, in all seriousness, thank you so much for the almost 2,000 subscribers you will put up on this YouTube channel. Okay, here's the deal. We are at 1,648 subscribers. So that puts us less than 500 subscribers out from 2,000 subscribers on this YouTube channel in their entirety. I can't even begin to put into words how appreciative I am of each and every one of you. I wake up every morning, I check my subscribers, and every time somebody hits the subscribe button, I really freak out because I'm that much closer to over 2,000 subscribers. That's the next milestone on this YouTube channel, and of course it's 2,500, 3,000, so on. So here's the deal. As a YouTube creator, it is really hard to get somebody to hit that subscribe button. So I want to put it out there that if you're thinking about hitting the subscribe button, maybe you should. Because this YouTube channel is full of content for you and full of content like somebody who will probably appreciate this content. Because I know there are Hannah Montana fans out there, and I know, according to the YouTube analytical graph and system, I have so many fans of Descendants, I have so many fans of Zombies, I have a certain percentage of fans of Tangled, I have a certain percentage of fans of Jessie, and so on. Hannah Montana fits into that graph also. So whatever percentage you are of the fans, if you're somebody who's thinking about hitting the subscribe button, I would really appreciate it, because one subscriber really counts and means the world to me on this YouTube channel. 1, 2, 3 subscribers like that, no matter if it's 100 every half an hour, no matter if it's 5 every half an hour, every subscriber matters on this YouTube channel. As I've said before, this YouTube channel is your YouTube channel, which means it's an open book, which means the conversation is at an all-time high and the possibilities are endless. It's your opportunity to create, it's your opportunity to reach out in the comments, let me know what you want discussed on this YouTube channel, and we will make it happen on this YouTube channel. I will personally guarantee for you, I will go out of my way to discuss everything that you want talked about on this YouTube channel, no matter if it's Disney, Nickelodeon, pop culture related. We will talk about it, movies, video games, what have you. But again, it blows my mind every single time I see the subscribers always going up on this YouTube channel. We're almost at 2,000. That's our next milestone. As I said, 2,500, 3,000, so on. Unreal. Thank you guys so much for your love and support. What am I supposed to say now in conclusion? Good night, everybody! Like Hannah Montana. Jonathan Clark has just left the building. Again, I don't know how I would be able to handle fans lining up overnight to get tickets to my show. Jonathan Clark Live. Oh my God, we have to line up for 10 hours prior to tickets going on sale. I used to do that for WWE years ago. When they would come to town, it was of extreme rarity. And it was really hard to get tickets to stuff like WWE Live. And I remember having to line up over the night. And I don't know if I'd be able to handle it. But yeah, in the words of Hannah Montana, thank you everybody, good night. Bye YouTube. We will do it again in a couple of days.